Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Adafruit Show and Tell. I'm Liz. I'm going to be your host this evening. If you would like to join the StreamYard and show off what you've been working on this week, you can find a link in the live broadcast chat over on our Discord server, and that's at adafruit.it/Discord. But first, we're going to hear from some Adafruit folks, see what they've been working on, and then hopefully we'll have some community folks join us. And so first, we'll hear from JP. How are you?
Hey, Liz, I'm doing well. I wanted to talk a little bit about this journey I've been on of trying to port my Larzio Paint Music code over to the Metro RP2350. So for people who don't know, I've been creating a little limited version of Super Mario Paint for SNES to run on our upcoming Fruit Jam board. And so the Fruit Jam, it's kind of cute, kind of game console-ish, mini retro computer-ish. And it's got all the things built onto there you need to plug into an HDMI monitor with DVI video output, get some nice audio out here, plug in a mouse. And those are kind of the main things that I need to be able to use this as a little sort of homage to an SNES music program. So Lamore asked me, hey, since this isn't quite out yet, but it shares a lot of the same parts as the Metro RP2350, along with some breakouts that we have as individual breakouts now. Can you port it? Can you do a version of that? And so if you show my downshooter here, I just thought it was interesting to see kind of what a more purpose-built version of a board looks like. There's the Fruit Jam. This is kind of the equivalent of it for most, if not all, of its functions. This has some things on here that I'm not replicating, like 5 neopixels and maybe some of the ports and buttons. But the main thing here is it's an RP2350. I have HDMI DVI video out by using this little breakout that we have here. So this is the HSTX sort of high-speed, many-lane output that gives us video and a bunch of I2C and all sorts of other good things. So I'm able to send out DVI video over that, and that's kind of what's happening internally on this board here. And then to do mouse input, there's actually a USB host built onto the Metro RP2350 that we can use that uses PIO. And there are breakouts just on the Metro that I soldered a little mini header to that give us data minus and plus differential pair, as well as 5-volt and a ground. So normally you can just plug in a mouse or a keyboard to that. Currently, we don't have a cut that's working, a build of CircuitPython that's working directly with that for mice. There are some issues that are being ironed out. However, it does work using a USB hub. And that, again, is what's built into here. There's actually 2 ports here for USB-A devices like a keyboard and a mouse, and they're going through that CH343 hub chip. So that's what I got up here. So I've got my breakout running over to this guy. This actually gives me 2 ports. I've soldered some 90-degree headers on it. And this bottom here is sort of the upstream USB, and these are the downstream ports, if I've said that correctly. So I don't need to use this one here. I'm not plugging into a gizmo through a USB-C cable. It's just wired directly. And then the sort of last piece of the puzzle here is audio out, which this, again, it's got this little TRS 3.5 millimeter jack. You can plug headphones into that. You can also plug powered speakers, amplifiers if you want to. So that's what this guy is right here. It's the same exact DAC. It's the TLV 320 3100 DAC. And that is running on I2S. So it's a digital I2S audio out, which is these 3 cables here. And then it's configured over I2C. So we've got I2C clock and data and power and ground over here. So all of that, plus a little surprise. I was actually running around like a chicken with my head cut off yesterday, running into these weird cases where I couldn't instantiate this thing on I2C. It just wouldn't get found. And so weird conspiracy theories and rituals developed over the course of the day, including shorting
Yes.
out some capacitors, waiting 1 or 2 minutes with it unplugged, plugging it back in, all sorts of dances I was doing, and sometimes it would work. And then Lamore said to me, "Oh, there's a reset line on that thing that needs to be toggled low before you use it." I was like, "How about that?" So that's what this extra cable is here, running up to a little pin. It just works. So we just flip
Perfect.
that high and low, and then it's like, "Yeah, I'm here. What's up? What do you want?" And I can proceed. So the neat thing is that these are almost identical code-wise, other than I have a little OS import that does a board check and says,
Mm.
"Hey, am I on a Fruit Jam or am I on a Metro RP2350?" And depending, we just say a different set of pins for I2S and reset. That's it. Otherwise, everything else in the code's the same.
Very
So
cool.
in the process of getting that code up there so that people will be able to try it out, and they'll be able to try it out long before this one is in the store, because it'll run on that little fun collection of parts there.
Awesome.
And that's it. That's what I wanted to show. I don't have it plugged in or anything, but I'll probably show that on the live stream tomorrow if people want to tune in and dive a little deeper, take a look at some of the code that's going on here. And this is all in CircuitPython.
Awesome.
That's what I got. That's my journey.
Very good. And we were lamenting a little bit before this that with the reset line, when you were doing your product pick of the week, you're running into that a bit, and I was trying to help you troubleshoot it, and I wasn't seeing it on my end for some reason.
Yeah, it's intermittent. So, it's maddening. That's
despite
right.
all of the testing I had done with the library writing and the guide, it did not appear on my end. So, yeah. Guide is updated now, everyone. So we will.
And I think also, to add to the confusion, there was a period of Alpha 3 of CircuitPython 10 to Alpha 4, before Alpha 4, where there was actually just a straight up software problem with finding this thing on I2C, if I remember correctly. So that got fixed. So suddenly it was like, it was both a software and a hardware thing that we were chasing down. And Liz, maybe it's just being on the East Coast, you never really ran into this thing, and I was hitting it all the time. So who knows if it's temperature and humidity or what, but it was super, super mysterious. But I'm so glad to have that worked out with one sentence from Lamore, which is, yeah, you got to toggle that reset line.
Yes, so. And that is why we do this cutting edge stuff, so then folks will get it and be able to zip right in.
That's right. Yes, we found it, so you won't have to.
Yes.
Hopefully.
All right. Thanks so much, JP. Looking forward to your live stream tomorrow.
Thanks, Liz. See you.
Bye. All right. Next, we are going to hear from Tim, foamyguy, who has also been doing a lot of Fruit Jam Metro 2350 stuff. So
yeah, that's right. Hey, Liz, how's it going? I like you said, I've also been working on some Fruit Jam stuff. I have been working on what we're calling Fruit Jam OS. So it encompasses a launcher and an editor and the boot animation and all of these things in one. And then there is also some code that will run inside of GitHub that will actually download all of the different Fruit Jam compatible projects for you, bundle them all together, and you can just drop it all as a bundle on your Fruit drive and have it on your Fruit Jam drive and have it all boot up and run all of this stuff that we're working on. So cool. I will switch my camera over to the capture card here, where I have the Fruit Jam loaded up and feeding in. So this is the launcher, and I have both the keyboard and a mouse hooked up, so I can arrow around with the keyboard to move these things. There is also mouse support, so I can move the mouse around and click on stuff. And then what I have been working on mostly this week is the editor. So I will come over here to Hello World, and there are a couple of different hotkeys. If I just press enter, then it will launch this app, which this one's just a basic little Hello World with some yellow text there. I can exit back out with Control-C, just like normal CircuitPython, breaking out of the program. And then if I go back, I'll go to Hello World again, but this time I'll press E instead of enter. So E for edit, I press that, and that is going to take me over into the text editor or the code editor. And so this is the actual code for the Hello World file. And then right now, I actually, down at the very bottom here, actually I'm pointing with my mouse, which occurs to me right now that no one can see. So down at the very bottom on the bottom line, it says mount RW, and that is telling us that CircuitPython currently is mounted as writable. So I would be able to just go in here and change the code if I wanted. So we could take this Hello World, make a simple change to it, like changing the color, for instance. I could switch it over to pink. and we could make it a bit bigger with a larger scale or something like that, I can press Control S to save it. That will change the little message down at the bottom there to let me know that it was saved. I can press now from the editor, I can press Control R to run it. So I'll press Control R, and that's going to run now the modified version. So it's been super cool to get this whole sort of development cycle so that you can modify the code, run it, and then I just press Control C to break back out of it. And then that is actually going to take me right back to the editor. So I'm ready to make another change. You can kind of complete the whole sort of workflow of open a file, edit it, run it, see what happened, and then go back to make your next edit, all within CircuitPython on the FruitJam. And then I'll show a couple other features that I've been working on this week. So I mentioned earlier that I have already mounted the drive as read-write. But by default, of course, most people know on CircuitPython, it mounts as read-only by default. So there is a hotkey for that as well. Down at the bottom where it says Mount RW, there's a little Control W. And so if you press Control W, which I'll do right now, that will make the FruitJam reboot. So it goes away for a minute, but then it comes back up, and that will actually toggle the read-only state. So now it came right back to the same file we're editing, but now it says RO down there. So it's back to the default read-only mode. And so if I were to edit this file and try to save it, it will tell me that I can't. But I can, of course, press Control W to toggle it back again. Let's see. I'll break out of this. I'll show you a couple of the other features I've done this week. So just Control C will exit out of that. That gets us back to the launcher. And then the editor also exists here on the launcher. So you can just launch the editor by itself rather than editing a specific file. And that will now give you a list of all the files on the device. So I can scroll through here. I can choose whatever file I want to open. I created this one while I was testing, so that will open up this test text file here. I can now also press Control O. So Control O will open a new file. So from here, I can go Control O. That's going to take me back to the file picker list where I can choose my next file. And then the last thing that I did this week to this thing is the new file functionality. So down at the bottom there, we got a Control N. If I press Control N, it will ask me for a new file name. It occurs to me that I put it in read-only, so we're not going to be able to make a new file on the root of the drive, but I did have this working before. We'll see if it still does. I've made a few changes since then, but we'll try this. So the other thing I did is, for anyone that doesn't know, like in CircuitPython 10, there's now this concept of CP saves, where it has a writable section on the storage. Even though most of the storage is read-only, inside the saves folder, it's actually writable. So we could try test create text. We'll see if this works. So I'll do enter. Yep, it looks like that works. So I can type into here, and I think I will be able to save maybe. Nope, actually it tells me I can't save. Okay, so I got to work on that still. It let me create the file, which I believe definitely would have saved it. But it looks like I need to work on the actual saving after you edit it. But yeah, all of that stuff has been going on this week. I'll switch back so that I'm no longer just a voice. But yeah, all that stuff's been going on. Keep an eye out, just like JP said, all of this stuff technically runs on the Metro as well. I have been developing on the FruitJam, but if you have a Metro, you can play with this stuff as well. The repo is already out there, Adafruit FruitJam OS. If anyone wants to play along with the work, I'm kind of actively developing. So there's new versions essentially every day for the last couple of days.
That's awesome. That's so impressive. I'm curious, when you were coming up with the menu system and how that flowed, did you do like planning ahead of time, or do you have like diagrams? I'm curious how you had to keep that organized.
I lucked out a little bit. So the menu system, like inside the editor, so the entire editor was actually, it came from an older project that I did a year or two ago. Jeff actually did a lot of work on it. Jeff created this thing called Dang, which is like a CircuitPython version of the Curses framework, which is like a framework on normal computers for making ASCII programs, like on Linux terminals and stuff. So there's like this Dang, which is a limited version of Curses, and then Jeff built the original editor on it, and I wrote it into a guide. So I had a lot of experience with that editor, and it already came with the file picker and everything built in. I had to make some changes and stuff to get some of the newer features working, but all of that stuff was already done and I didn't have to worry about planning it. The launcher itself, I did a little bit of planning on. I will say the trickiest part was getting everything to launch back and forth correctly. Because like with the editor, I really wanted you to be able to do that, like Control W in order to mount as writable. And when you do that, like it's going to run BootPy again, so that it saves a little file that tells BootPy to skip the animation and skip the desktop and go right back to the editor. And there's this whole kind of chain where each of the different files can kind of tell the other files that they want to like skip past certain steps or stuff. So to answer, I think your original question, I didn't do a lot of diagramming or stuff like that. I don't tend to do that. I think a lot more in code and notes and text files and comments in the code and stuff like that. So I didn't lay it all out in a diagram or anything. But I did kind of write out a flow of like, I want to be able to launch this, and then I want to be able to go back to the editor, which means I'm going to have this file, you know, be able to launch other stuff, or I'm going to have to tell this one to skip past it or whatever. So
yeah, that's a lot to keep track of. So really impressive demos. I'm looking forward to seeing it released and everything. It's really great job.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really stoked as well. It's come a long way. I'm excited by it.
And you're doing a deep dive this week?
Yep. Yeah, we'll be deep diving. If anyone's interested in this project, I actually worked on it some last week. So if you want to see some of the work that went into it, deep dive last week I did that. And then I'll be back this Friday as well at the usual time.
All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tim.
Yep. Thanks. See ya.
Have a good one. All right. That's going to do it for tonight's show and tell. But in about 15 minutes, Ask an Engineer will be airing live right here at 8 p.m. So you have some time to get a snack and then see your favorite engineering show on Wednesdays. All right. Have a good one, folks. Bye.